The envelope that wasn't mine. The envelope arrived on a gray Tuesday. No name, no return address, no warning. Just another delivery at the shop counter, like any other film drop-off. In the rush, no one noticed the mistake. It was just another package of old negatives, from back when life had to wait days to appear on paper. But when it came time to return it to customer, the right envelope was gone, and the wrong one ended up in my backpack. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was her. That night, I got home exhausted. I left my camera on the kitchen counter and tossed the envelope on the table. I was going to throw it out, but something made me open it. Inside were 7 photos, all with the same eerie tone. Yellowed light, heavy shadows, a suffocating atmosphere. By the 3rd picture, my world stopped. Her, standing at the edge of a lake, smiling like the world still had weightless moments. Dark hair in a messy bun, a faded band t-shirt, and that gaze I hadn't seen in 20 years, since the day she vanished. Clara, my first love, my most beautiful secret, and the name no one in this town had dared to speak since 2004. Back then, they said she'd run away. Others claimed she'd fallen in with the wrong crowd. The police closed the case within weeks. The school erased her name from a yearbook, and her parents went silent, buried her memory along with her clothes. Only I knew how bright Clara had been, and I knew she would never have left without telling me. I looked through the rest of the photos, hands shaking. The 4th one showed a narrow hallway, peeling green walls, a crucifix in the back. It looked like a boarding school, the same one they sent all the troubled teens to, the same one Clara left for and never returned. The final image was the most disturbing. It showed a room, small, cold, a single iron bed, a barred window, and written faintly on the wall, "God sees me, but no one else does." I closed the envelope. My heart was pounding in my throat. The past I'd buried had returned, and it stared back at me with the same intensity Clara had in that photo. In that moment, I knew she didn't just disappear. She was silenced, and maybe she wasn't the only one. The place where voices stopped. I didn't sleep that night. The photos lay on the table. Kitchen light still on. The clock stuck at the same time. 3:17 a.m. The hour Clara used to message me. The hour, according to police records, she was last seen. The next morning, I went downtown. At the public library, I looked up the history of the boarding school Clara had been sent to. Sacred Refuge School. Founded in 1961. Closed in 2006, 2 years after she vanished. Official reason, lack of funding. Real reason, an anonymous tip about abuse, never investigated. I wrote down the address, got in the car, drove 40 minutes to the edge of town. When I parked in front of the rusted gates, a chill crawled down my spine. The place looked just like the photos, only worse. Dead gardens, shattered windows, and the wind howling through empty halls, as if it still carried the screams no one had heard. I slipped in through a broken sidewall. With every step, the floor creaked, dust mixed with mold, and something else, iron, a scent I recognized. In the old chapel, pews were flipped. On the altar, a Bible lay open to John 8. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Ironic, in the back, I found the girl's wing. The door was half open. Inside, empty beds, rotten mattresses, walls scratched with desperate messages. They call me a sin. Mom, take me home. This isn't healing. It's punishment. It was a graveyard of living voices. Girls like Clara, people like me. In the last room down the hallway, I found something. A diary, red cover, her name written on the back flap. Clara S. The handwriting was hers. The first page read, "If someone finds this, don't look for me. Just listen." I drove home in silence, the diary on my lap, heart at war. The Clara I knew had been buried there, but not by death, by silence. And that diary was about to tell the story no one had dared to speak, the words she never spoke out loud. It took me 2 days to gather the courage to open the diary. Not out of fear of what I'd find, out of respect, because that notebook wasn't just paper. It was all that remained of a life someone tried to erase. I opened to the first page. Clara's handwriting was round, steady, as if even through fear, she had never stopped being fully herself. Today they told me I'm sick, but I feel love, and love can't be a sickness. But here, love is punishment. I kept reading, and with every page my chest tightened. She wrote about her first day at the school, the isolation, the purification sessions, nightly gatherings where queer teens were forced to fast, pray, and in some cases were doused with cold water and screamed at with scripture. They say it's love, but it feels like hate. Clara described the other girls. Bianca screamed at night. Joanna drew her mom with wings. Val cried in secret, saying she just wanted to hold her literature teacher's hand. None of them ever went home. Some were transferred. Others, like Clara, just vanished. Midway through the diary, I found a folded page. It looked newer, different ink, shakier handwriting, as if written later in a rush. They say God sees us, but they lock us where no one else can. One girl tried to escape once. The pastor called her temptation. She was never seen again. The final sentence was written in large, frantic letters. If they say I ran away, don't believe them. I tried to resist, but no one survives alone. I closed the diary with trembling hands. Inside wasn't just Clara. There were pieces of all of us. The ones who loved wrong, who looked too long, who felt too deeply, and were silenced for it. I started searching names. First Bianca, no record. Then Joanna, nothing. Then I searched for Valeria and found a 2007 article. 17-year-old girl found dead by the highway. Family confirmed she had been sent to a religious boarding school for reform. Case closed due to lack of evidence. It was her, the same eyes Clara described, the same girl who just wanted to hold someone's hand. This wasn't an isolated case. It was a pattern, a system. On the last page of the diary, there was a name, one of the instructors, Pastor Enrique D., now a well-respected man, leader of a church in the south of the state, and a detail that made my blood run cold. He still works with youth, in spiritual retreats, in restoration and healing programs. And in that moment, I knew Clara tried to warn me. Now it's my turn to speak for her, the man who thought God belonged only to him. I didn't sleep that night. I read Clara's diary 3 more times, memorized lines, wrote down names, and made myself a promise. No one else would disappear in silence. The next morning, I tracked down Pastor Enrique D. I found the website of the church he now led. Renew Ministry in another city. Modern site. Smiling photos. Worship videos on YouTube with comments like, Man of God, Soul Healer, True Deliverance. Hypocrisy in 4K. I sent an anonymous message pretending to be the father of a confused young man. Their words, not mine. I asked about their emotional healing programs. The reply came in 30 minutes. Hello, brother. Yes, we do offer a program. It's called Reborn, a 5-day retreat focused on spiritual restoration for youth ages 14 to 22. Confidentiality guaranteed. Limited spaces available. Reborn, the same name that had been scrawled on one of the dorm walls. The same word Clara mentioned in her diary. Where the girls came back different or never came back. I got in the car and went. I posed as a donor. Said I wanted to support the project. That's how I managed to book a meeting with Pastor Enrique himself. When I stepped into his office, my stomach turned. He looked exactly like Clara had described. Neatly trimmed beard, cold eyes, a smile that had taken more than it ever gave back. Welcome, brother. Tell me, how can I help you? I swallowed hard. I'm interested in the Reborn program. I'd like to understand how it really works. He smiled with his mouth, but not with his eyes. It's a deliverance process. For youth with addictions, deviant behaviors, spiritual confusion, we teach them how to hear God again. And what happens during those 5 days? Fasting, prayer, confrontation sessions, Some kids have one-on-one moments, but everything done in love. I wanted to scream, wanted to slam Clara's diary on the table and ask where the bodies were, wanted to shatter every stained glass window in that church with the weight of the lives he destroyed. But I stayed calm. Do you provide psychological support? Spiritual support. The soul needs God, not pills. Classic. Before leaving, I asked one last question. Are girls included too? He hesitated. Some, yes, like Clara? He froze. The name hit him like a punch. Excuse me? Clara S. She was in your care, wasn't she? He said nothing, but his eyes said everything. I stood up, left an envelope on the table. Inside, copies of Clara's letter, the photo, the diary, Valeria's death report. Before leaving, I said, God doesn't belong only to you. And this time, someone's going to listen. I went straight to the local police with the original diary, with everything. At first, they treated me like I was being overly emotional. But when I showed them the contents, the silence changed sides. They began connecting names, finding files, missing person reports that had mysteriously disappeared, families silenced with settlements. What started as a testimony became a case. What was once a letter became evidence. And what used to be a quiet scream became a movement. The names they never said in church. The complaint was filed on a Thursday. By Friday, the town was buzzing. By Saturday, no one could pretend anymore. News outlets started cautiously. Newspaper former seminarian accuses pastor of psychological abuse in youth healing program. But the confirmations came quickly. Anonymous messages, testimonies from former participants of Reborn. And then, like a spark in a field of dry grass, the fire began. Megaphone, a young trans woman, shared in the video. They took me to the program when I was 15. They told me my soul was at risk. I was locked in a room for 3 days. I never came back the same. After years of therapy, I'm learning to live again. But I still wake up hearing screams that weren't just mine. Megaphone, a former retreat monitor, confessed. It wasn't healing. It was suppression. We were trained to break them. Crying meant it was working. They called it purification. Megaphone, a mother, shared. My daughter came back quiet. Later, she jumped from the school building. I never knew what really happened to her. Now I do. And in the middle of the chaos, my name began circulating. Tomás, former seminarian, banished for loving wrong. Now, the one who made the truth bleed through the altar cloth. With that came the backlash. Envelope with thorough anonymous messages. You're trying to destroy people's faith. You're a tool of the enemy. Careful. The devil wears sheep's clothing too. Receipt, a lawyer from the church, called. Do you want media attention or justice? I answered, I want no one else to have to die in silence just to be heard. Later that week, the police called me in again. A detective with a tired voice and sharp eyes handed me an envelope. This came from an anonymous source. Inside, a new set of the old photos. But something was different. In the last picture, the one in the room with the words, God sees me, but no one else does, there was something that hadn't been in the original photo. A shadow, reflected in the mirror, of someone holding the camera. It gave me chills. The shadow had a shape, a bun, a slim body. It wasn't a pastor. It was Clara. She had taken the picture. She wanted to leave evidence. And in the corner of the image, barely visible, enhanced by the lab tech, was a handwritten message. If someone finds this, look under the trapdoor. Trapdoor. I returned to the school. This time with officers. We searched the room. Nothing, until beneath a rotting rug, we found a loose board. And underneath, a pit. Small, dark, like a cell, like a grave. Inside, we found camera with flash and old camera, notebook with decorative cover, a folder of documents, names, dates, therapy session notes, video cassette of videotape. The camera was confirmed to be Clara's. The tape was hers too. In the video, she was crying, sunken eyes, dirty clothes, but her voice steady. If you're watching this, It means you lived long enough to hear me. I didn't run. I was punished for loving. But the love that punished me wasn't God's. It was theirs. They forgot me. Please don't forget me too. I couldn't stop crying. But in that moment, I understood Clara didn't want justice just for herself. She wanted a world where no one had to die to be loved. And now I had a mission to make sure her voice and so many others would never be silenced again. The day she was finally heard. The trial took place 1 year after the complaint was filed. Pastor Enrique D. was indicted for psychological abuse, unlawful confinement, and illegal conversion practices on minors. For more names surfaced, all leaders, former staff, or secret donors of the Reborn program. None of them confessed. But they didn't need to. The evidence screamed on their behalf. Clara's diary, the tape, the testimonies, the photos, and the message written in fear, but with hope. Don't forget me too. On the day of the verdict, the courtroom was full. Survivors, mothers, friends who never forgot, and voices that refused to be silenced again. The judge read the sentence slowly. Maximum penalty. No chance for immediate appeal. That was the moment something was returned. Not Clara, but the dignity of existing without needing to apologize for loving. After the trial, we created the Clara Listens Network, a support collective offering psychological, legal, and spiritual help for LGBTQIA+ people affected by religious violence. Our motto, God sees you, and so do we. We received hundreds of messages from those who survived, from those still trying, from people who had never told anyone their story until they saw ours. 6 months later, we held a mass. Different, colorful, open, a celebration for those who were never given an altar, for those whose real names were never spoken, for those who had been exiled from faith, but never stopped believing. The chapel was packed. There was no priest at the altar, only people holding hands, hearts wide open. When it came time for the reflection, I stepped up, Clara's diary in my hands. I opened to the last page and read aloud, "If love is a sin, then let me be a saint with my eyes closed. But if someone ever hears me, remember me as I was when I could still love without fear." I paused, took a deep breath. She loved bad music, laughed too loud, gave me my first kiss in a school bathroom. She was my first truth. And today she is our voice. Tears fell from the eyes of people who never met Clara, because deep down, everyone there was Clara. At the end of the Mass, each person received a candle. We lit them together, in silence, without mourning, with presence. Someone whispered, soft, but loud enough to echo like a hymn. Those who love bring light. Today, Clara's photo sits on my shelf, beside others who came later, other survivors, other names, other souls who fought not to disappear. And when someone asks me, "Do you still believe in God?" I say, I believe in the God who heard Clara, even when she was the only one still speaking, even when she was the only one who still believed that love is stronger than fear. If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel for more LGBTQIA+ stories that deserve to be heard. Comment below, who is your Clara? That person who showed you that love is resistance? Share this story, because every time it's told, the buried truth finds its voice again.